Hi guys, is this a case of Brexit regret from George Eustice? So George, if you don't know, used to be a member of UKIP and he campaigned for some time for the UK to leave the EU. Then he became a Tory and eventually was appointed as Secretary of State for DEFRA, the Department of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. George recently has come out against the Australian and New Zealand trade deals as he says they have been bad for British farming. Now he wants a more flexible visa system for farm workers. Has the penny finally dropped? Have a listen.
I think having a skills-based immigration policy is actually wrong because it means you're opening the door to solicitors, accountants, insolvency practitioners, orchestra conductors, all sorts of people that we actually don't particularly need at the moment. But what you're then saying is those sectors who are producing food for the nation can't have access to the labour that they need. And that's driving both a labour shortage and wage inflation as well in those sectors. And that's exacerbating the problem. So it's not the cause of it, but it's a big contributing factor. And the one thing the government could do is to basically carve out and say, food is different. We are going to have a temporary visa scheme, maybe with a 2 or 3 year visa for anybody who wants to work in the food industry.
Isn't this a little bit ironic because George Eustice grew up on a farm? So surely he should know better than most people the need for foreign workers, the need for farm workers, and as you can't get them in the local area, you have to find them further afield. And that's why the UK in the past relied so much on workers, for example, from Eastern Europe. Is he regretting Brexit? I don't think so, but he's definitely sounding like he is. And this idea of having a 3-year visa, well, that would be basically like freedom of movement, would it not? Yes, it's not the same as freedom of movement, but if you're talking about a visa for 3 years, you're basically telling people, yes, we want you to come here for the long term. Of course, at the end of the 3-year visa period, I imagine the visa could be renewed for another 3 years. So yes, once again, it's not freedom of movement, but it's getting close to that. It's not a temporary visa, it's a long-term visa. But perhaps he's understanding now that campaigning for Brexit and leaving the EU would actually have some pretty dire consequences for farming and the food industry. And he's correct when he said that, yes, we're giving out visas to people that we don't really need, and we're not giving them to people who we do need: hospitality, healthcare, manufacturing, construction, farming, the food industry. So these sectors desperately need foreign workers, but the Home Office is continuing to say no, no, no. To his credit, when he was, to a certain amount of his credit, to his credit a little bit, when he was the Secretary of State, he was putting pressure on the Home Office to issue more visas for farmers, because I imagine as his family came from, his family is in farming, they would have received pressure from other farmers to do something about it. Call George, please ask him to issue more visas. We're desperate. We can't find the workers we need. We hear him in Parliament criticising the Australia trade deal and the New Zealand trade deal, but we still haven't got the staff we need. So can you ask him to put in a word for us? I imagine that's the sort of calls his family were getting. And now that he's no longer a minister, he's a bit more free perhaps to criticise government policy. But he can ask for more visas, he can ask for a change, but if he's not in the government, I don't think he has much leverage. But it is interesting that you have a Brexiteer asking for a softer type of Brexit, or maybe no Brexit at all. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.